Welcome to the Building Leverage podcast. Today we'll be having on Matt Paige. Matt is the VP of Strategy at Hatchworks AI and host of the Talking AI podcast, and a creator who's built a significant following on both TikTok and Instagram, explaining to people how to properly build with AI. In this episode, we dive into how anyone with any background can create with AI and create leverage from it. We'll talk about Matt's journey on building a 1,000 plus user app, how to write prompts that actually work, and the biggest mistakes people make when starting with AI. So whether you're a founder, a student, or just curious, this conversation will definitely give you an edge. It's packed with practical advice, real stories, and frameworks you can use right now. So I hope you enjoy this conversation with Matt Paige. Enjoy. Awesome. So before you were known for AI tools and running a podcast, you worked at big companies like AT&T as a data analyst. So what made you want to jump into AI and content creation?
Yeah, it's funny. So I worked back in AT&T back in the day. And it's funny, like Facebook was like new back when I was in college, and somebody said they needed an intern. So I got a job at a telecom company, which led to AT&T. But it was when I went to Cricket Wireless, which AT&T had purchased, and I was working on a team of data scientists, basically like PhD data scientists, like super smart people. I was more on the analyst side, marketing advanced analytics, but it just blew my mind in terms of what they can do. And like two things were completely clear. One was there was like this invisible barrier between normal people and PhD data scientists in terms of what you could do with AI. And the second thing was they were doing amazing things, but it took forever, right? It just took forever. And when generative AI came about, both of those things completely changed. It completely democratized it.
Right.
And the speed and scale at which you could do some of these things with AI just completely accelerated. So it was very interesting early on in those days, kind of witnessing what AI was back then versus what it is now.
And were people eager to adopt it in your workplace or no?
Back then, people wanted to leverage it, right? But in terms of adoption, it just wasn't the same as it is today, right? In terms of having generative AI to where somebody could go log into ChatGPT or Claude and just immediately start getting value from it, right? You had to literally build a model or do some type of thing that took a very long time. So people wanted the value of it and the promise of it, but they couldn't access it. And a lot of times the value from it was underwhelming because people back then always heard about the cool things that, you know, Uber and Meta and all these companies, Google were doing with AI. But what everyday people could do was just not achievable in a sense.
So what would you say to the people who still believe that building with AI is only for people in tech or who have coding experience?
Yeah, so I think that's another thing that's completely changed. And I remember, so like fast forward to now, okay, generative AI is here. I remember very early days where I think this was just in ChatGPT, like I had it write code for me, right? And it just built a very simple web page. It was the ugliest thing you've ever seen. And I remember showing my colleagues and saying, like, this is completely mind blowing. Like, can you believe this? And they just completely discounted it and said, you know, oh, it looks like crap, which it did, right? But in my mind, I was like, this changes everything because my background is traditionally in product development. I work with teams of engineers. I understand how databases work, how systems work, can write SQL and things like that. But I never got to the point where I could actually truly code, right? And it was always a goal of mine, but I just never could dedicate the time and experience and keep up with everything that was changing. And that's where AI just changed that, right? And then you obviously had Lovable and tools like that come out, and it just completely changed what you could do. And it's crazy how quickly that's changing too, in terms of what an everyday person can build, can vibe code in a sense.
Right. You talk a lot about vibe coding. So for someone who doesn't know what that means, what does the term vibe coding mean?
Yeah, essentially, I think it was Andres Karpathy, former CTO at OpenAI, that coined the phrase. And the whole idea was you're kind of just, you know, letting AI take the wheel. You're kind of flowing with the vibes of where it's taking you. And I think for that reason, it got discounted by a ton of engineers and technical folks saying, oh, this is just like some
Mhm.
cool little toy magic trick. It'll never do anything meaningful. But I think just recently that's started to change as well. And I think there's like this bifurcation going on between technical users and non-technical users. And on the technical user side, so I'm for context, I'm a VP of strategy at Hatchworks AI. So we have teams of engineers both building AI native products, but also using AI to build.
Mhm.
And it's finally at that point to where those engineers are like, okay, this is legitimate. And especially since Claude Opus 4.5 came out, you have the creator of Node.js saying, okay, this is legit. I can see a future where engineers are not actually coding. You have
Right.
the creator of Claude Code saying every line of code that has been written in the past 30 days was written with Claude Code to help build Claude Code. Like you have uh, Anthropic's CEO just coming out the other day at the was it Davos he's at, I think, or one of the big conferences, saying that same thing. So you have that side of it, which is just, okay, they're finally starting to adopt it and build patterns around it and a methodology around it. And then the non-technical users, that's the really interesting thing to me, because it just democratizes what you can build.
Right.
And it's not just apps, right? You see people now, like, they're vibe coding presentations, they're building lead generation tools, they're doing things to help in their personal life. So there's all these different avenues in ways of building. It's almost like somebody that says, okay, I'm going to create a spreadsheet for that. I'm going to create an app or build something with that is going to be just as common in the future.
Interesting. So for non-technical people, what tools would you advise them to use to learn vibe coding and start implementing this in their life?
Yeah, so the go-to for me is Lovable. I think it's the easiest to get started with. I think in that same vein, Bolt's very good. Replit is very good. Replit, you can go a bit, deeper on the technical side, but I think that's the easiest to get started with. Claude Code is getting a ton of attention. I think it's awesome as well. It's just more intimidating because it lives in a terminal. But I'd say, like, and this is the mindset that people need to have. Like, if you're scared to do something or try something, just leverage AI to help you through it. Have Claude sitting right next to you and say, hey, I want to try Claude Code. Like, step me
Yeah.
through how to get started. And it can do that. And that's where I think a lot of people have not flipped that switch in terms of learning with AI as they go.
How much time do you put into learning these tools?
I feel like it's every day now, mainly because stuff's changing so fast, like, as you know.
Mhm.
And it's just super interesting to me. Like, I was just looking the other day, like, Kimmy just released something with like slides and docs and spreadsheets. And it's just insane what it can do. Like, it's doing the stuff that in the past you would pay some massive consulting agency
Right.
50 grand to do in the past. Now, so it's just mind blowing what all the new things that are coming out.
Right. It's absolutely insane. So while we're on the topic of vibe coding, you actually built your own app called Prompt Social, which is like a social media library for prompts. So can you talk a little bit about why prompting is so important and what drew you to build that app?
Yeah, so the whole idea, and I think that's the key thing. Like, I believe that like 80 to 90% of the value you get from AI is through how you prompt AI. And prompting's part of it is like the actual prompt itself, but it's mainly the context that you're giving it.
Mm.
And I kept like saving prompts in random Google Docs and in my Slack chats and all this thing. So it's kind of just a repository to keep them all. And it's nothing um revolutionary. It's like a prompt library in a sense, but it adds that social element, because then you can discover other people's prompts and things like that.
Right.
And I don't know, am I able to share on here, or I don't know if that's able to
Um,
come through.
is there a share? Let me see.
There is, yeah. You want me to try
Yeah,
it?
yeah, if you can, go ahead.
Okay, let's try it out. But I'll just like kind of show it off a little bit just for context. So
Oh, there we
um
go.
yeah, so like I said, it's essentially where anybody can come in here and add a prompt and, this one's for an image prompt that somebody did. This one's for an app that I built here. And so it's a mechanism where you can come in here, you can save, and view the prompts, and you kind of have your prompts library here, but you also can look at the save prompts that you have from other users in a sense. But so what was really interesting and unique about this is I vibe coded it, right? And I did it over, not too long of a period. And I put it out there and I got 1,000 users in the first week, which was just mind blowing to me that I could build something and have users actually using it. This is like this vision or, just dream I've had for so long, and I was able to do it. So I think that's the thing too, like how people build and what they're capable of is just completely different now. And I saw this Instagram product manager talking the other day about how the role of the product manager is changing. Like they're expected to vibe code things now, and build a prototype and do all these things that usually took a very long time. But the interesting thing here, just on the topic of prompting, so like it's got the prompt library in essence, but I started adding this meta prompting tool to where you can come in here and say, create a prompt for competitive research for Hatchworks AI, right? And there's different prompt types, standard prompt, you can optimize the prompt to make it better, deep research prompt, an AI image prompt, an AI video prompt.
So cool.
And it'll come in here and it's leveraging AI to actually create an optimized prompt. And the key thing here is like the system prompt behind this around best practices for prompting. And it just creates this like super detailed prompt, which is just way more than if you give a very basic prompt in, you're going to get a very basic response back out. Right. So it gives you this nicely crafted prompt with all of this, the context, the tasks that it's supposed to do, all of these things. And then it'll give you recommendations on how to make it better. Right. So you can click on one of those or just have a conversation with it, and it creates different versions. You can edit in there, and then you can publish it to the prompt library as well. So it's this neat kind of mechanism here for meta prompting. But what's cool too is you can also do, I've been going deep on like the AI image and video side. So like you can come in here and select the type of model that you want. And I'll just give you like an example real quick of one I was doing the other day. So this is a woman in like a retro 50s kitchen, and I gave a very kind of basic prompt, and it gave me one very tailored to Midjourney. And if you looked here, like this was the original output I got, which I have no idea why she has 4 hands. I don't know what her feet are sitting on, but then this was the like optimized prompt, and it's so much more nuanced and better, which, it's what I'm saying. Like the prompt is so critical. And then I tried another one with Nano Banana Pro, and you can see the prompt is different because the structure that Nano Banana prefers is different than what Midjourney prefers.
Interesting.
And then like, the AI video prompts with Sora 2, I did one with, a Porsche kind of like going around a bend and whatnot. And it's like capturing the scene here. I don't know if the audio comes through.
Yeah. That's insane.
But yeah, so all that to say, like, it's just been really cool kind of going through and doing this. And like, I have this whole backlog of ideas in my head. But the cool thing is like, I can build them and continue to build it as I go.
That's awesome. And you were able to achieve what a lot of people don't. Like, you built the app and you got users. So how did you do that, for one, and how would you advise others to actually get users to their apps?
Yeah, so a couple of things. Like you have to actually build the app with a backend so you can accept users, right? And tools like Lovable have made that super easy with their integration with Supabase. And they've even taken it a step further to where like you don't even have to go to Supabase to do it. You can do it natively in Lovable, but that allows you to have a database to where you can have authentication, you can have you can store users and whatnot. So like you have to be able to support that. B, on the other side, is Well, it's the old field of dreams. If you build it, they will come. It's just not true, right? So that's such a key thing is having the distribution once you build something. And I think that's becoming so much more important now that building has become democratized.
I
It's
agree.
those that have distribution. And that's like another side thing I like to do is just, and that's how we got connected, is just creating content on social media, right? So that's
Right.
become a distribution channel for me. So when I built Prompt Social, that's how I got the word out, right? So I think that's the other super undervalued thing. And there's many forms of doing this, but people need to almost reframe their mind in terms of social media, whatever form it may be, and think of it in terms of distribution. Like it's a very strategic, tactical thing to leverage in a sense. And same thing. So I host a
100%.
podcast too. Like this is a distribution channel, right? So I
Right.
host a podcast called Talking AI. That's just another form of distribution.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like you said, that if building's becoming democratized, then the leverage you have, if you have the ability to distribute it, then yeah, it's absolutely insane. I kind of want to go back though, as you were going through it, you kind of touched a little bit on the importance of prompting. So can you kind of
Mhm.
talk to me about what is the difference between a good and an exceptional prompt, and are there any frameworks and rules that you should follow?
Yeah, there are. And I don't know, this may be worth actually bringing back. Let me share my screen again real quick if I can find it. So, and this is something Hatchworks AI, like, so just for context, we build AI native products. We use AI to build. It's a lot of automating high value work and then building AI native products as well. But a big thing we've started to do is on the training side, because there's such a gap between what people know about AI and how to use it and
Mm,
what they can do with it now. There's just this huge gap. So we kind of fell into doing this. So what I'm trying to pull up now, if I can find it, is we have our kind of art of prompting guide. And this will be good context for, if I can, here we go. All right. So I'll share again. It'll be kind of background
yeah, cool.
as we go through it. So the key thing is, like I said, garbage in, garbage out. The framing and thinking of yourself as the orchestrator versus the executor is key. Like you got to
Mm,
be able to set the direction of where you're going. And I'll go through these fast. But context is one of the most important things, right? That is the key value piece for anything you're doing with AI. And context comes in many forms, right? There's the physical like prompt that you give it. There's memory from past chats. I think memory is going to be super important. There's artifacts, so documents, images, audio, video, all of those things. And then the tools, like all of these are forms of context,
right.
which fits into the context window, right? And like, here's a great example in terms of context, like a bad prompt, write a product description for a smartwatch, make it sound appealing and persuasive. But a better way to do that is to say, hey, here are some examples of how I write product descriptions, right? So you're giving context for what you think is good, right? And then it's going to frame the output around that. Um, Practice meta prompting. That's what we were just talking about in terms of like using Prompt Social to actually put structure around the prompts,
Right.
defining the structure for the prompts, so the situation, the problem, recommendations, defining the structure that you want. And another thing, I think chaining your thoughts in the prompt. A lot of people try to squeeze too much stuff into one prompt. Uh,
Mm,
Break it up into a longer form conversation is critical. And I'll hit one other kind of key one just so we don't take up too much time just on the prompting stuff. But tell AI what not to do is a good framing and reference. But I love this. So flip the script on AI when you're prompting, right? So
mm,
let AI ask you questions, right? So what red
right.
flag should I watch out for? Ask me clarifying questions. What would a top expert say about this? Challenge my assumptions. I love the one to apply the Socratic method and challenge my thought process is another good one.
Yeah.
And then also make AI criticize its own work. Like it shouldn't be just it criticizing you. Like have it actually go back and think through, okay, look back at what you provided and be critical of that. Because a lot of times it can be sycophantic in a way where it's just trying to please you. And it's like, oh, that's a
Yeah,
great idea, do this and that.
for
So you
sure.
almost have to check AI in a sense. But yeah, so that's just a few things that kind of uh, make for a good prompt. And then just prompting a lot is another way because you start to get a nuance. And I'm curious, like your take here. I've really started using, like, I will prompt multiple models at a time, right? So
Yeah,
I'll prompt ChatGPT, I'll prompt it with Auto, I'll prompt it with Pro, I'll go to Claude, I'll also prompt it there. And because each model works differently and there's value in understanding which ones are good for which use cases. And sometimes it's
right.
just random. Sometimes it's like, oh, Claude's hot right now. Like it's
Yeah, yeah,
spitting out some good stuff. But I don't know if you do that at all? Like what's your kind of go-to
yeah.
tool you use all
So
the time?
when I'm doing anything like research related or even just questions, I'll go between like a Claude, Perplexity, ChatGPT,
Yeah.
Grok. I've been using Grok as well. And just
Mm,
like you said, I'll go through all four. And then they're different models as well. So Opus 4.5, a Sonnet, GPT 4.1, all of them. And then from that, it's really interesting to kind of dissect and look at their different
mhm.
responses. And then from that, choose which one fits what I'm looking for the best.
Yeah, Opus has been really good, and not just for
Oh,
code,
yeah.
but so many things. I got to use Grok more. That's the one that I just haven't gone deep into. Uh, but is it? Do you like the output of
Grok
that?
is it has surprised me a couple times. Like there's
Yeah.
been a couple instances where, especially like in long format, like briefs, research style papers, Grok
Hmm.
really performs well as with data. So if you're handling a lot of data or asking it to make charts and all sorts of stuff like that, Grok is really good for that.
Yeah. Wait, speaking of that, um, like, have you tried the Kimmy, the latest stuff there yet?
The
On
last one I used was like its agent based model. I think that was like a couple months ago.
Yeah, I'm just sharing a ton, but look at this. This is wild. And for those that are like just on audio only, I'll try to be descriptive of it. But like, so this is I had it run like an NVIDIA investment report, and you can see. Well, actually, it's not sharing it. Share. There we go. But look over here to the right. Like it's this executive investment research report. It's giving a buy recommendation on the stock, a price target, and
What the?
like it's just insane. Like look at all the detail here. But then you get into like the charting as well. This is what I mentioned earlier of like what you'd pay a massive consulting company, 50 grand to do,
Mhm.
but technical analysis, all of these things. And then this one was interesting too. This was also NVIDIA earnings, their latest earnings report, and kind of the TPUs from Google and that's how that's impacting things. But
Oh wow.
it's just like crazy how not only how like visually appealing it is, but the data and the charting in there as well is just mind
Yeah, that's
blowing.
insane.
And like there's just so much of work in the past has been very sequential in nature. Like I work with a human, I do something, they do something, and that's the process. And
Mhm.
it's so different now because you can kick off multiple things at once. You can have AI doing one thing for this and another thing for this in more of like an asynchronous manner. So I just think the nature of work is going to like fundamentally change over time in a
For
sense.
sure. What has your experience been like with the Chinese models? Are you using it? Are you using them a lot, like DeepSeek, Kimi? Because in my opinion, they're like rapidly accelerating the rate at which they're getting better. It's absolutely insane. Like Kimi 2 to 3 months ago, yes, some people used it, but now you look at it now and it's making stuff like that.
Yeah, DeepSeek not as much. Kimmy, yes. I think what's interesting too is like they're going more of the open source route as well. But I think in general, it's just driving innovation because like as
Mhm.
they create something new, some new architecture or approach, that's pushing the American model makers to go deeper and bigger. And it's just competition is driving a ton of
Right.
value. in a sense. So, yeah, I think it's, they're really impressive in terms of what they're doing.
Yeah, it's insane. In your opinion, what's the biggest leap you think we'll see in how people interact with AI over the next couple of years?
Yeah, I think it's about process reinvention, right? I think a lot of people think about it in terms of, oh, I'm going to make this process automated, or I'm going to make this process faster, this existing process.
Mhm.
But I think the way to think about it is process reinvention, right? Like, now that we have this tool that's completely unlike anything else we've had before, if you rethought how you did this thing, this piece of work, this task, this workflow, how would it be different with AI now? And I think what that end result will look completely different than how we do things today. So I think that's a key thing, and it's hard, very hard for existing organizations to do this because you have bureaucracy, you have people's jobs and functions tied to the task and work they do. So it's messy, right? So I think you'll have startups and smaller companies do this out of necessity, which is, back
Mhm.
to just the innovator's dilemma and why new companies are able to excel in these ways. So I think that's the biggest thing, is just the nature of work changing. And I always talk about the Shopify CEO. He put out a memo that got leaked, internal memo, and then he put it out there. And one of the key things he said is everybody at Shopify, it was like a directive to practice reflexive AI. And the whole idea is that AI becomes reflexive. It becomes like second nature, like it's a reflex.
Mhm.
Like, I don't think, okay, I'm going to use AI for this use case. Oh, and I'm going to apply AI here. It's just second nature. It's like to the
Right.
point where you don't wake up and say, oh, I'm going to use electricity for this and for that. So that's like the way they're thinking about it. But the other key point he mentioned is AI is just too unlike anything else. And the only way to get good at it is by using it a lot. I think a lot of people
Right.
are scared to get started or don't know where to start. And it's like, just start using it every day. Just start applying it in random ways, and you'll begin to learn over time. And back to the point earlier, if you don't know how to do something, just ask AI. It's just
Right.
mind blowing. You have this like tutor with you 24/7 to help you with anything.
Yeah, even help you understand and learn it. It's crazy.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I think you like you said, you can gain so much leverage from that in the marketplace. Like, let's just say you're an 18-year-old kid, you apply to a job, you get a new job, and they're asking you to do certain things, report back. If you're giving them reports built like with that Kimmy model, specialized reports, you know what I mean, tracking analytics, and you can
Hmm.
kind of impress them and kind of just add a little bit of tips in your favor, have a little bit more leverage than other people by learning and knowing how to use these things. I think it can help you so much and make it go a long way.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you said that, because like I think new people entering the job market, it's just extremely scary with everything going on. But if you do exactly what you said, you're going to be extremely attractive in terms of a prospect if you're able to leverage these tools and even teach people at the company how to use them, because you've been using them,
Right.
if you're coming out of school all through college or whatever. So that's one thing. But I do think on the other side, the ones that don't, like, companies will begin, stuff that they would have given to a junior person. They'll just, it'll just kind of be absorbed. So it is critical that like you're bringing something new to the market,
Yeah.
value add, which at the end of the day, that's like, you should be doing that anyways. It's just, you got to figure out what it is, right? So like when I
Right.
came into the job market, it was around 2008, and we just had that massive recession with the housing market and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's being adaptable. I think young people are the most adaptable. I'd be curious, like for you, like what was that like for you? Because I think a lot of people now, their first instinct is not, oh, let me go just get a 9 to 5 job. Like, what was your mindset in thinking of like what you want to do in your career and like other friends and things like that?
Yeah, so when ChatGPT launched in 2023, I used it a little bit here and there. I thought it was insane, but not to the
Hmm.
extent of like life changing, which is kind of the inverse of some people. Like they use it and they're like, holy cow, it's going to change everything.
Yeah,
And then
that's
around
interesting.
2024 to early 2025, I really just started looking back at like history, and I kind of just like started reading on like the early internet days, and I was like, visited back to AI and was like, this is like a life-changing opportunity to get in the doors on something very early, to learn it where most people are rejecting it and they're not wanting to learn it, and kind of just give myself an upper hand and leverage over the next couple of years. So I kind of looked at it in that light, and I was only 15, 16 at the time. So I had had a couple jobs, like family owned and stuff. And I was like, well, I'm just going to learn this in the public space. I'm going to learn it along with other people, and I'm going to film myself doing it. And I had a couple of videos taken off, and then from that, sponsorships. But yeah, I've really just put a massive effort in learning this and creating leverage for myself.
And then by putting yourself out there, that's how you meet other people. Like that's how we got connected, right? So I think that's the other thing. And I think too, like the nature of the resume is going to change too. Like back to vibe coding, it's like, go build something. And then like, that's the thing you show to your company or, you know, future employer or whatever. Like that's super attractive compared to a traditional resume. So I think that's the other side of it too. If like there's people either like coming into the job market, or they're at this point where they need to adapt or are looking for something new, is the other thing as well.
For sure. So what would your advice be to companies relating to AI, and how could they better adopt it?
Yeah, we do a lot of this at Hatchworks AI in terms of training and whatnot. And it's a lot of people think of it as a tool because it is a tool, right? So they think, okay, we've rolled out Microsoft Copilot or ChatGPT to our organization. All right, we're good. But then people don't use it. So there is that intentional step of educating your team on how to use these tools. You kind of have to show them the art of the possible. And then back to the comment with the Shopify CEO, like really embracing culturally that reflexive AI approach. I think that's so important, but also giving people permission to use it. It's like a lot of companies will be very restrictive in terms of how you can use certain tools. And then a lot of people just, especially if they're more cautious, they just won't do it because they don't want to get in trouble or screw something up. So they just don't. So you got to be able to, you know, give that permission in a sense to do things. And then how do you create like unique experiences and cross learning between people, whether that's, we do like, you know, hackathons are a great way to do it. You know, just giving space outside of your normal day-to-day for people to try new things and share learnings and stuff like that. But it's not easy. Like it very much is change management, and these tools are probabilistic. I think that's the other thing. A lot of people, I saw this great thing. I forget his name, Connor something on, I think it was LinkedIn. He said like AI is probabilistic. Like if I have a calculator and I put in 7 plus 3 and it gives me 11, I'm like, this thing sucks and I'm throwing it away. But if you ask AI a question, it's probabilistic, right? So it can give a nuanced response. But in that same vein, if I have a new hire and I ask them to do something and they come back and it's not quite right, I'm not just going to fire them right away, right? That AI's in that sense, because it's probabilistic, there's nuance in terms of the response, and there's this learning curve and giving the right context and being adaptable to it. So that was an interesting comparison.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So you've seen firsthand how AI prompting and vibe coding can give people leverage in ways we couldn't imagine a few years ago. So in your view, what's the single biggest way someone can build real leverage for themselves in this new era of AI?
Yeah, I think it's first, practicing AI reflexively is a big thing. Just start using it every day. Literally, like I'd say for a week-long period, do everything with AI. No matter how stupid it sounds, like literally over-index on use of AI, because in that you'll start to realize patterns and ways to use it. I think on the vibe coding side, I think it's just a really interesting application of AI, especially if you're not technical. And I'd say if anybody's doing that, learn along the way. Like if you don't understand how systems work and databases and edge functions and all these things work, ask AI to explain it to you as you go, because it's no longer important to know the syntax of code, but it is critical to understand how systems work, how architecture works. That is the critical thing, because then you can have a more informed conversation with AI when you're building something. So I think those are like the most important things to do. And it sounds, maybe a bit broad, but it's everybody's going to have their unique journey with AI. And it's just a matter of don't put it off. Don't wait. Just start using it.
I agree. Well, thank you so much, Matt, for coming on and doing this. I really appreciate it. This Matt Paige, everyone. All Matt's information, including the links to his Prompt Social app, will be in the description below if you want to check him out. Also, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel below for all the hard work and effort I put into bringing people on to teach you about AI and give you leverage.